Unanimous selection.
It was me.
To the Baseball Hall of Fame.
It was me.
And like many of us, Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson, both former baseball draft picks, were completely baffled. You see Mahomes, how is Derek Jeter not unanimous? Russell Wilson, who's the one guy? Show yourself.
It was me.
It is remarkable to me, as we are delighted to welcome the one, the only, Mr. Jalen Rose.
Good morning,
Good
morning. Good morning.
Do you have
sir.
a Baseball Hall of Fame vote?
No, but I was just doing my All-Star NBA voting.
Did you vote for Derek Jeter?
I would have voted for Derek Jeter. Did you guys know? In high school, I played basketball AAU versus Derek Jeter.
Oh.
Our team beat their team, I'm not joking, by 100 points. And Derek Jeter always tells the story that led to a conversation with his dad in the car that he should focus on baseball.
And that's why he wasn't. That's why he wasn't unanimous.
That's the speech. That's the speech.
With that, we welcome you to another round of Get Up. We're coming to you live from above the Heineken River deck at Pier 17, and here comes the rundown. It is time to get up with the aftermath of a hideous night on and mostly off the floor in Kansas. How did this happen, and what should the ramifications of it be? Meanwhile, it is the classic confrontation. Great versus great. But can any defense slow down Patrick Mahomes? And speaking of football, the Cowboys talking about a deal with Dak. But we'll tell you why the trouble in Big D is just beginning. All that and more on the menu for this hour of Get Up, starting right now with the night in Kansas, college basketball, and this massive brawl. That's number 3 Kansas dribbling out the clock. And it is Kansas State, their rival, and Deshaun Gordon stealing the ball and going the other way. Silvio De Sousa didn't like that. He blocked a shot, and he stands over the man in the process. That's taunting, and then all of this ensues. The bench is empty. Punches are thrown. De Sousa, at one point in the middle of this skirmish, picks up a stool and appears ready to use it as a weapon before an assistant coach grabs it from him. Local police help to eventually break up the brawl, which spills into an area where fans with disabilities were sitting. Here are both coaches after the game on the incident.
Obviously, it's an embarrassment. It's not something that you'd be proud of. You know, what happened is absolutely zero signs of toughness. I mean, it's a sign of immaturity and selfishness more so than it is toughness. But still, it's inexcusable. I mean, these things can't happen. This doesn't have anything to do with competition. Those were selfish motives on why it took place at the end.
You win with class, you lose with class. Disappointing that anything had to happen at the end. It's a bad play. You know, it's disappointing. Life lessons for our young guys. Hopefully next time they'll be a little smarter.
All right, the Kansas AD, Jeff Long, issued the statement. The conduct of a few of our student athletes at the conclusion of tonight's game was simply unacceptable and not reflective of who we are. Coach Self and I will review the incident along with the Big 12 Conference in Kansas State to determine appropriate consequences. There's no place for this conduct in college athletics or here at Kansas. I'd like to apologize to the Big 12, Kansas State, Gene Taylor, Bruce Weber, and all fans for the lack of sportsmanship from members of our team this evening. Our Hall of Famer Dick Vitale saw what happened. Here was his reaction.
Absolutely sickening, unbelievable. In 40 years on my TV, I haven't seen anything like that unless you go to the NBA and you look at the Pistons brawl that took place at the Palace. I think there's no doubt in my mind that De Sousa never, ever should put a uniform on again in college basketball. None. He's holding a chair. I mean, that's criminal. He's going to hurt somebody. I mean, I don't want to hear the excuse that they stole the ball with time running out, should have never done such. Give me a break. That was ugly.
Please. So we have had a little conversation about this morning. We've not yet heard from you, Jalen. I'll give you the floor. What do you think should come from this?
The student athletes were irresponsible. They were not disciplined. You don't like to see that level of behavior in any way, shape, or form in any sporting event. However, unfortunately, we live in a society where that's actually celebrated in hockey and baseball, but that's another subject for another day. But with that being said, I totally disagree with our Hall of Famer, Dick Vitale, who I have great admiration for. I'm not going to go to the extreme of feeling like these student athletes should never play again. It's an isolated incident.
Exactly.
I don't believe it's going to happen again. And so now that we can take in the totality of, did anybody get injured? Was any of the fans injured? Were any of the players injured? Now that I see that none of that took place, I think some suspension should happen. and the young men should continue to play basketball.
I will take it there real quick, Jay Rose, because we don't see that kind of outrage in baseball. We see a lot of fights in baseball or hockey. By the way, high school basketball, there's been multiple shootings this year in high school basketball games. People have died. You've seen brawls, right? And all I'm saying is, if you've ever been jumped or if you've ever been in a fight, I don't know from all the angles that I've seen who threw the first punch. It's not evident yet. But if you're in a fight and you don't know who's coming at you from which way, you're not thinking practically. You're thinking about you're reactive in that moment. I'm not saying it makes it right. But when we want to criticize college kids, fans get angry about their on-the-court performance. But then all of a sudden, when they do something like this where they're not thinking, we want to treat them like adults, right? So I'm just saying, let's put this in context. If we want to give him 10 games, I understand that. But to completely say, get him out of college basketball, he's what's wrong in college basketball, that's wrong. That's not right. He has a chance to redeem himself, and that's what college basketball should be about.
I see your point. I think part of the important context here, RJ, is that this was a fight that then spilled over into an area where there were fans with disabilities that were seated in that area. A lot of times in baseball, that's happening on the field. It's happening in a place where fans who have come to watch the game are out of harm's way.
And that's the one thing that I kind of argue between hockey and baseball is that fans are never involved in that. Now, the difference between the malice and the palace is that players were fighting fans. This was more of something that spilled over. And that's one of the reasons why the NBA early on, before the malice and the palace, was like, hey, we can't have this escalating to the off the court. We can't have players rushing on. My thing with Dick Vitale, to say a kid should never put on a jersey again, I think the suspension should be strong and it should be right of way. But we can't penalize. And I saw Nick Saban sit up there and criticize all the reporters one time when they were talking about, oh, I've had this guy, and everyone was saying he shouldn't be on our team in Michigan State. But at the end of the day, I kept him on our team. He did the penalties. He did all the things that he needed to do to earn his way to be back on our team. And then he plays in the NFL for 15 years, and his daughter's going to Princeton. That's what we need to teach these young kids is like, hey, pay the penalty, do what you need to do to get back on the court.
Do you know, Laura? Then put a barrier around the game. Because football, there's a barrier. Sure. Hockey, there's a barrier. All I'm saying, so you can't say because the fight popped off in the area that was disabled, and I understand that. But that's due to the way we govern the game. That's not, it's completely different.
I'm fair with that. Here's the thing. I am completely in agreement with you guys. I do not believe that the young man should be thrown out for life and we should never look at him again. But let us also not use that to minimize what happened. What happened was potentially very dangerous, regardless of which students it happens to be that are sitting in that section, and the fact that it was what it was makes it all that much worse. But the reality is there should be significant consequences because none of this happens if the fight doesn't stop.
So a couple of things, and we've all been in this situation. First off, Kansas, when you're winning the game and you're trying to dribble the clock out, you can't let them steal the ball from you. That's your fault, number one. Number two, the defense should keep playing because we down 20 points. Number one. When you steal the ball and you go for the layup, of course the defender is not going to try to block your shot. Now, when the defender stands over you when you're on the ground, that creates the altercation. It's one thing to beat me. It's another thing to show me up.
Well, but now understand this. They didn't start the fight. There were people that, and you can't see in that initial video, it wasn't the, I blocked your shot. Look, you stole the ball from me. I should be able to block your shot and look at you like, don't try that again, right? Like, that's respect. That's competition. It was the people that came in from that moment right there that escalated the situation. Agreed. And that's where things started to go crazy.
It's complicated. Most of the teams were in the layup. I mean, excuse me, the handshake line already. The game is over.
Yeah, we should get rid of that, too.
And by no means are we not acknowledging that these young men were dead wrong and they deserve a stiff penalty.
Facts.
But we're not going to criminalize them right now or treat them like villains because of a isolated incident that happened during the spur of the moment. This was not something that was pre-planned.
Just one little piece to add on context is the fact that I said this earlier, it's a rivalry game. So I want everybody to understand it doesn't make it right, but tensions are already escalated drastically in this type of game.
That's a rival. Kansas is the hammer.
I understand.
Fair.
I understand. But from somebody who covered college basketball for 12 years and who's been there, those fans in Kansas treat that like it's a rival.
Okay, let's not sidetrack ourselves into that. We have to go over some other things. We will see there'll be some adjudication. That's not a word, but you know what I meant.
10 games.
On this at some point today, and we'll see where it nets out. In the meantime, let's talk about the Super Bowl. A tale of two elite units. The Chiefs, their offense, ridiculous. They average over 32 points with Patrick Mahomes. That's the most for any quarterback in the Super Bowl era, with multiple starts. On the other side, the San Francisco 49ers spent their money on defense. John Lynch spent a league-high $109 million on defensive players this year, and the Niners rewarded him with the largest decrease in points per game allowed from 2018 to 2019. And don't forget, defense wins championships. San Francisco allowed the second fewest yards per game this year. Top two defenses have fared well in the Super Bowl era. We came up with this stat yesterday, sort of on the fly. If you were watching yesterday, we sort of organically arrived at this. There have been 20 instances in Super Bowl history out of the previous 53 games where a top two defense was in the game. Those teams are 15-5. In the modern era, and what we would describe as the sort of offensive era of football, the only two quarterbacks to beat that kind of a defense are Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. The game has changed a lot since, the 70s when these things were happening before. So I would phrase the question, do you believe in this day and age it is still a question of defense wins championships?
I do, and that's especially prevalent when the offensive player on the other side isn't named Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the great equalizer in this. This is the perfect team versus the perfect player, and that's what we get in this game. This is the game we need to see. You want to see dominant defenses in the Super Bowl, but you also want to see the game's superstar, and he is the biggest superstar and the biggest equalizer in the sport of football. So it's going to be exciting to see. Is it the rush of the San Francisco 49ers? Is it the coverage that is always sound and top down that wins this game? Or is Patrick Mahomes just too good? Because it is going to be about which pieces of this team plays well. That is not the focal point, but it's going to come down to stopping that one man.
I'm not going to pick who's going to win just yet because I think both of us could see either team winning this game. But I think you're right. If you pick out one player that's in this game that's special, obviously it's Patrick Mahomes. But it does matter where the 49ers are good. The fact that they are good up front, they can potentially get after Patrick Mahomes without blitzing, I think matters because Patrick has shown that he can get confused by disguises. But the problem is when you confuse him, he buys a little bit of time and you end up losing in the long run. The question here is their front four athletic enough to get a sack after the secondary confuses them? Because I don't think that the 49ers are athletic enough in the secondary to stick with these receivers, and that's no shade to the 49ers. Right. I don't think there is a secondary in this league that is athletic enough to run around with those receivers.
So Patrick Mahomes is already Patrick Mahomes and at this level of greatness that everyone's trying to comprehend. Then he starts being able to run the ball with some effectiveness. How are the 49ers looking at that side of it?
Well, it's a challenge that they faced a couple of times this year. We mentioned earlier the 5 games two against Russell Wilson, 2 against Kyler Murray, 1 against Lamar Jackson. They give up about 24 points a game. They're 3-2 in those games. Obviously, that's not bad, but it's not as good as they were the rest of the time. Those guys, Hembo says those guys combined for a 71 QBR, a 99 passer rating, and 6.6 yards per carry against the Niners. So it can be done, and Mahomes has the skill set to do it. The question is, to me, the question is almost flipped, right? Does the Chiefs defense have enough to slow down the 49ers run game, make sure Mahomes can get in that kind of rhythm? It's taken him a whole quarter to get into the last couple of weeks. I think that's an important part of the equation.
But before we transition to anything else, RC, let me just phrase the question this way. Peyton Manning had one of the great seasons of all time in Denver, got to the Super Bowl, and got annihilated by the Legion of Boom. Just a little while later, with his defense, Denver's defense, with Von Miller and those guys, dominated Cam Newton the year that Cam Newton was the league MVP and his team was 15-1. Is this that?
They ain't that dude.
Yeah. Those guys aren't Patrick Mahomes.
They aren't Patrick Mahomes.
Cam Newton was the MVP of the league. We were talking about him revolutionizing the sport
Absolutely.
at the time.
And listen, and they couldn't block the 2 guys outside, and those 2 guys outside gave them fits all day. But it was also a different type of passer that you put into that situation. Patrick Mahomes is something like we have never seen. He's Aaron Rodgers plus some. And when you can do some of those things, it's an equalizer that we can't understand. There's also the poise and the calm that his skill set gives him. When you watch those last 2 games, he had no flinch in him, no blink. And when you can do that and you're facing a certain type of rush and you're facing a certain type of team and you've shown that it doesn't matter how much I get down, I can come back, that matters.
But it doesn't matter if they can't block those guys. I understand, and no one loves Patrick Mahomes as much as me or more than me. I love him. He's fantastic. He has never had a bad game in the the history of his career, he's going to be great. But if you get two guys coming off the edge and you can't find a way to block them, that means you have to take some of those receivers out of patterns to pick those guys up. That makes things a lot tougher.
Okay, look, on the other side, we all keep doubting Jimmy G. I mean, some people have tried to say that they trust him a lot. But why are there questions about that when you look at the way that his team has performed when he has been their quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I think the questions stem from us not seeing a lot of them in high-pressure moments. I think that people point to that New Orleans game as like the highest pressure moment where he showed up. But when it comes down to it, despite the fact that he put up lots of points and his team was awesome, like the game-winning play was because Kittle is a monster. Like he threw a 5-yard out to George Kittle, and he broke some tackles and pushed guys' face in the dirt and got him in scoring position. So I think that's the reason why. He's been great. I think he has the best QBR of quarterbacks down in the fourth quarter throughout the regular season.
He does.
That's true. Yeah. But so he's been great in those situations. But since he's been in the playoffs, he hasn't been in a pressure situation. So it's hard to trust somebody when you haven't seen them.
Because here's what happens. You look at the numbers and then you look at the film. When you look at the film, you go, well, KJ Wright could have picked that one off. Ooh, Bobby Wagner could have picked that one off, but he ended up driving the football. And so you have all these things. When I look at Jimmy G, do I think he can get it done? I do. Will I be surprised if he makes some clutch throws? I will not. Would I rather not trust him? Absolutely. And that's the same way Kyle Shanahan has felt since this interception we're watching that he threw to Kendrick. He's thrown 14 passes in 6 quarters.
Dan, you've talked to Kyle Shanahan a lot. You've spent a lot of time with this 49ers team over the last couple of weeks. What are they saying about their faith in Jimmy G?
Well, they believe in him. I mean, look, they traded a second-round pick for him a couple of years ago, and that's not a small price. They think that since they've had him there, John Lynch told me this last week when I was there, the GM, said what they didn't know about him was how he would be in the building, and he's been impressive, and teammates gravitate. So they say all the things everybody says about their franchise quarterback, and I think they're being genuine. Obviously, I mean, they're winning a lot of games with him. So, I mean, the question is, how's the game go, right? Can they dictate the game? Can they put him in comfortable situations? If he and/or Patrick Mahomes get in uncomfortable situations, who's more likely to react to that? Well, we've seen it more with Patrick than we have with Jimmy.
Well, Jimmy Garoppolo, of course, was once Tom Brady's backup in New England. Brady remains very much in the middle of so much news as his future continues to be a big topic of discussion. This week, over the weekend, Brady told Westwood One that he was, quote, open-minded about playing elsewhere next season, and people made a very big deal of those pictures with him at the fight right there. That's Mark Davis, the owner of the now Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to have to stop laughing at his haircut. The man is the owner of the football team. Stop laughing. We're having a serious conversation here. And the point of it is that
did something just fall out of your mouth?
Someone control our seat.
All right.
All right, I'm going to Graziano. Dan,
it's happening.
What do we make of where Tom Brady is in his life right now?
Well, first of all, Mark Davis isn't allowed to talk contract with him. That's against the rules, right? Until the free agency starts. Right. So we're not going to cast aspersions about that. However, I think what we're seeing is Tom Brady wanting to enter free agency and do it for real, right? Like with all that comes with it. Other teams making offers, the Patriots trying to convince you a reason to stay, and just experiencing that for the first time really in his career. So I think at his age, for some reason, with all he's accomplished, this is something he wants to do and see how it goes. And I don't think he knows where he's going to end up yet, which means we can't possibly.
Fair. But here's the thing. I feel like people are approaching this as though it's something that's going to happen sometime in the next year. Like free agency is 6 weeks away. This isn't that far away. So these decisions are being, whatever anybody is saying, these decisions are getting made right this minute.
Yeah, I mean, call me crazy, but I feel like Tom Brady's not going anywhere. I think this is like an NBA style. You sign a 1-year deal. We've seen LeBron do it a bunch. You use that as leverage to force the hand of the ownership to bring in the type of players you want. I can't imagine him going elsewhere. But for the threat to be real, for the pressure to be real, it has to be a realistic alternative, and people have to believe it. So he has to be willing to go through it if at some point Robert Kraft doesn't come down and force Belichick to make a move in the same way we believe he did with Jimmy Garoppolo.
And that's a really important thing for people to understand. You see other players go through it, less high-profile players, younger players, go through free agency because they want to experience it, and they decide, the place I already was is the best place for me. That's entirely possible, even likely, in terms of an outcome for this.
Where would you like to see him go? If he was going to go somewhere other than the Patriots, what interests you most?
Nowhere. Like, I just don't think it fits. When you look at being somewhere for 2 decades, you're used to dealing with a certain thing. I know the evil that is in that building, but it's been run as the greatest organization in the history of the sport. And so now you have somebody who doesn't treat you like Bill Belichick, or who doesn't demand the type of excellence that Bill Belichick demands, who doesn't treat rookies the way that you've seen them be treated, or it isn't the level of accountability you're used to seeing in that building. That is going to be difficult. He's also going to have a shorter leash there. And I don't mean that from the sense of it's going to be like, oh, as soon as Tom Brady plays bad, I'm done with you. But there isn't going to be that level of relationship that says, I believe you can be better on the next play.
I agree with the idea, the concept, like the devil you know situation. Stay there. It may not be perfect, but it's better off. But I don't think he thinks that way. While you're saying that you don't want to see him there, like he believes that he is great, which he has been, and he believes he can continue to be great. He believes that the last couple seasons, I'm assuming, he believes the last couple seasons weren't awesome, not because he wasn't awesome, was because he wasn't getting the help
and that could be true, but if we looked at these numbers and that guy was going to hit the free agency market from last year, this wouldn't be someone that everybody is coveting. They want the 6 rings and the 6 championships, and he no longer has
value.
He doesn't have a skill set now that jumps spot to spot, no matter who's around him.
That experience has value. If you walk into that locker room, it's different. You know how it feels when you have a quarterback that you believe in. Whether he can accomplish it or not, that has a psychological impact on your team.
You do realize that 1 year ago this week, he outdueled and outscored Patrick Mahomes in his building.
He did.
I'm just saying, we're not that far removed.
Right.
Brady is still the reigning champion.
That's fair.
If I'm trying to sell tickets in Las Vegas or Los Angeles, I mean, that matters too, right?
Yeah.
These guys are businessmen, so
It
just
shouldn't
make
matter
sure
Brady,
that
though. See, if I'm Brady, that doesn't matter. I get those guys
But
money.
what I'm saying is it might help you make a pitch that sounds better to him than New England's, and that's a potential outcome
This isn't
here
going
as well.
away. This thing is going to be a
gonna be in
primary topic till the middle of March. Meanwhile, coming up here, priority 1 for the Cowboys. What will it take to get a deal done with Dak, and should he take less money to help his team? We'll argue over that. And believe it or not, there is someone on the Chiefs who is as important as Patrick Mahomes. We'll tell you who that is and why as we continue Get Up on ESPN.